It made me breathe heavily. My nose run, my eyes run. I looked down to the flower and wilt right underneath my nose. So she builds them up. I have to come in the evening and tear them down. Now, there have been thousands of research to prove these points. And those first two of those 30 are so necessary for you to have the very base upon what is meant by changing the internal mechanisms. Because if we can establish a method to attract from the phenomena of the world this thing we call success, then we will find that piece of land when we're looking for a building site. We will find that office location that's going to be ideal at a low price. We will find those things in life whenever we relate to the inner man in the way it should be. I've got a man over here that wants to take a picture. Let me take a little break with you, and if you'll look north. Sydney? Do you know Sydney? How many people know Sydney? He's our photographer. He's been around about 40 years. And he would like to take a picture. Will you look toward the camera? There's two rules here. If you can't see the camera, it cannot see you. That's principle one. Principle two is, if you don't smile, it won't smile back. And if you don't smile and we put this picture in share, people will think you're unhappy about spending all that money and won't do anybody any good. So could I have you to, let me get out of the way here. Can you still get a hold of me, Sydney? Where, right here? How about right here?
Good. Excellent. Okay, this will take a second, so get comfortable. Don't move. All righty. I'm going to take 4 pictures. So here we go. Here's the first one. We got one.
Have you got the name tag on that?
Okay. 2. Don't move. Dolly, we're getting it done. You notice that? Okay. Number 3.
Sydney, I thought a Texas Ranger just had to have one trip.
I want you to smile good. This is the last one.
I want you to look down the page with me rapidly. I want you to see where it says, the educated or conscious mind thinks and the innate or subconscious mind feels. I want you to look at number 4 now, wherein it will say that the way to get an idea, a desire, an ambition, or a love to become a part of your mission, talent, and destiny is a life. In life is a thought plus an act equals a feeling. And innate always executes or carries out your feelings. This is an infallible law. Now, would you please look at this infinite oneness drawing that's on your desk for a moment? Let me explain this, please, while you quietly and with concentration study it. I want you to envision now a story. Universal intelligence, or God, universal power traveling to what we have become to call innate in chiropractic. Now, innate means inborn. It doesn't have to be capitalized. But it still describes the proper kind of philosophy in chiropractic that we should be knowledgeable about, and what, in fact, is the right kind of philosophy that can help be part of healing of the patient. I'm going to tell you a little later on about chiropractic philosophy healing people and how it works that way. Now, you have looked at the educator or the educated, the finite, the reason, the I, the ego, compared to the sub, super, non, or unconscious mind, the father or the doer or the executor. Now, I want you to get an idea that whenever an image is created and whenever there is corresponding action, that is a motor impulse followed by a sensory impulse, that the image plus a thought produces a feeling, provides, and when that feeling gets to the inner mind, we could call this the cortex and the hypothalamus. But whenever that feeling arrives at the inner mind, you can always depend on that feeling being attracted to you. Now, we represent that attraction value in this drawing by the red line going through the inner minds of several people, missing one on the lower part of your drawing. Now, let me give you an example. Here is a chiropractor that does full spine adjusting. Very strong philosophy, very strong faith, confidence, and belief, and a very capable Gonstead adjuster, let's say. Now, let's say that he has what we call faith, confidence, and belief in headaches, backaches, in other words, musculoskeletal problems. Now, this individual's thought plus action equals feeling will attract to him a man with a bad back, a woman with headaches and bursitis, a little baby or a little boy with asthma. Now, here is an individual that this line misses. The reason would be that this individual has not finished out his formula of principle in his faith, confidence, and belief, because this man has piles, protruding piles, and his HIO adjustment doesn't extend far enough where he really has much faith, confidence, and belief that whenever he pops the atlas on ASRP, that the piles will suck up. And that'll be the end of the world problem. So he misses this patient. And then he goes over and over here to the lady who has sciatica and pains in the hips. And he attracts this lady. All right, now what I'm saying to you now is that this thought plus acting equals feeling is now being instituted. I am saying to you that I want you to develop and adopt a belief system because it is absolutely accurate. And that belief system is that whatever gets to the feeling level will always be executed, and that our internal philosophy and our training of success internally is designed to reach finally the ultimate of establishing certain innate feeling levels. We have a number of different phrases to explain those. Now, to get to this feeling level, all of us, each of you in this room, live one or all of three levels of existence: physical, mental, and spiritual. All of us are motivated or moved by either ambition, a desire, or love. Now, we schematically have researched out a truth. That is, that whenever the educated intelligence takes all of its factors that it brings to bear on any given situation, even this 5 new patients on Monday, and if he limits himself only to his physical educated plane, the end result of it is we call it no success, health, and happiness, and maybe that may be a wrong nomenclature. But what it does mean is that whenever we work on the physical plane, we only have educated methods to grow wise and to grow smart and to have ideas and to have inspiration. Now, the reason for this is because on an educated plane, using all of our 4 years of 6, 3 of 9, or 12 years of PhD education, on an educated plane, physical plane that is, that our motivation, being ambition, is designed for this unit's benefit only. Let me give you an example. A chiropractor has a very selfish opinion about life. Now, there are some of us in this room that have a hostile attitude about life. And it's get all you can while the getting is good philosophy. And I'm very well educated, and I read a lot of books, and I'm a damn good doctor, but they ain't going to be nobody screw me out of any money. And that's the philosophy. It's an educated physical plane. Now, that individual will get certain amount of good and results. He may be a very good adjuster, very good at diagnosing, but the end product of this is that only educated is available to him. And here is the hook. Only when an individual develops out a philosophy, a desire, or a love to serve outside of his own skin, does God or universal intelligence or life or whatever you want to call it, does it permit educated to get wiser knowledge from innate? It is only when I, standing before you, have a greater love for this unit than I do have of this unit. I am more in earnest to teach you success than I am to make $300 from you, or $75 or whatever. Whenever that is a truth within me, then my educated does not teach you the words, my innate teaches you the words. Because as this says up here, as we move up to the mental and spiritual plane, to the degree that this unit is moved by a desire, or what we ultimately call a love, for this other unit of the universe, not self, but other. That's what we call service. Whenever we are moved to serve And we have a philosophy and an office procedure that charges are routine and collections are automatic. And therefore, the running of the business and the getting of the money and the putting the money in the bank is a routine affair and not a primary affair. And our concept goes along with that. When that happens, what that means is that this individual is truly, honestly, more desirous of serving this patient than serving self. And to the degree that that is the truth, now nobody can gauge anybody, and there's not any examinations you take to get a state board license. It is only the way it works out in fact and in truth. And whenever that happens, educated goes to innate, because love carries educated to innate. And then innate attracts the naturally right patient, person, place, event, thing, situation. It is only when an individual has a philosophy of service outside of self, with the full knowledge that that service itself will attract the people for him to care for, then his office procedure will automatically reward him. And because his philosophy of service is predominant and number one, he moves up the ladder from the desire to the love spiritual plane, and educated dips more and more into the inner mind. This is wisdom. This is knowledge. This is ability. This is capability. You go to college to learn ability. You come here to me to learn capability. The more that your philosophy incorporates in fact and in truth and in life a service to that environment, the more that educated goes to innate. It is possible, from this principal point of view, to be all that way. If, for example, I stand before you for 3 minutes, and during that 3 minutes, nothing permeates me except totally service to you. How much I make, how much I get, how much praise I receive, or anything else doesn't become or is not part of it. During that 3-minute period of time, it is not educated that teaches you the seminar and selects the words. It is the inner mind that does this. This gives us a selfish reason to be service-oriented chiropractors and chiropractic assistants, because it is only that kind of philosophy that will have love carried to educated and attract the people that it is foreordained and predestined that you can help. Because the very attraction itself started off this chain of events, and when they come to you, it's an automatic thing that the individual is going to have something that just fits your technique and your faith, confidence, and belief and your everything else. Costs, charges, your physical plant, how they're going to accept you, what you look like. All of these things are built into the philosophy of service. We call this, whatever educated gives to innate, innate will carry out. Now you remember at the beginning, an hour ago, we said to you that an image plus an action equals a feeling, and that innate would attract your feelings. Now let me say it another way. when an individual manufactures in his own philosophy, decides that he is going to be a service-oriented missionary of his products, service, and ideas, in this case, chiropractic care. Whenever he makes that decision, and that becomes his inspired philosophy, now it therefore then becomes automatic that whenever he acts to fulfill this goal, he will produce the feeling that will attract the patient, that will get well, because he started out in harmony with God's law to start with. Because this universal intelligence here, in the beginning, is love, is service. I said to you earlier, love carries educated to innate. Innate attracts the naturally right person, place, thing, and situation and event. And then your faith, confidence, and belief in your product, service, and ideas, meaning your ability in your technique, heals the patient. The way I say it, philosophically, is that love carries educated to innate, attracts the naturally right patient, and your FCB and PSI heals the patient. That beginning will put you on Main Street, and that even though you might, while asleep, occasionally go off on a detour, there will be a magnetism that will draw you back to this central core from any place where you may detour. And all of us may detour. I want you to look down to number 7 on that page. To become, act as if. I've already said to you that nature will give you what you act like you already got. Now I want to say to you, following that many of the parts of your anatomy, many of the parts of your personality help to conform the vehicle by which you carry an idea to the feeling level of innate. Your handwriting, the movement of your body, your voice, your face, all of these go to make up action. But now I want to tell you how that they don't make any difference at all. Because if one's philosophy is set and solid, if one realizes that if he follows a service-first philosophy to begin with, that philosophy is going to bring him the people that will get the results, because it's a foreordained, predestined possibility, then the manner in which somebody executes an action becomes secondary. Now go on down to number 17. It says to you that love carries educated to innate, and innate doeth the works. It says love is its own reward, and 19 is LSMFT, loving service, my first technique, and 20 is lather love lavishly. Now we have that in 4 different categories. And the reason is because we want it to apply to the philosophy that is applied, that is explained in number 27 28, 29, and 30. Look at that with me now. We're going to take a little break in a minute. Look at that with me. You see, if you look at your drawing now and see universal intelligence applying itself into this unit on your drawing, God applying himself in the 4 1/4 billion people. Let's make up a little story. Here is a unit that is born. Here is a predestined life for this unit. Let's call it foreordained and predestined for the moment. Now, from birth to burial, this universal intelligence is going to express itself into every cell in this body. So many Googles of expression, they are uncountable. Now, what makes this individual here sick? Result of investigation shows it's because the original mission, talent, and destiny of God for this unit is not fully expressed in that unit. It does not get expressed because it has one word, interference. Where is that interference? It's in the spine. DD, VJ, Dave, Vinton, HB, all said that's where it is. Now, this spine or any other parts of the body that interferes with the quantity flow interrupts the flow of the energy to the tissue cell. That's God to the spleen, to the islets of Langerhans that makes the insulin. Interference is quantity. Now, along comes life, and we find out that D.D. Palmer gave an adjustment. He popped a bone, and a man started hearing. But what was D.D. Palmer doing before he popped that bone? Did you ever think about that? What was D.D. doing before he popped that bone? Well, for years, D.D. Palmer was a healer. He didn't pop bones, but he healed people. Well, what did D.D. do to heal people before he popped that bone? From 1890 to 1895. He healed people. There's no question that he did. There's a big article in Sunday's Miami Tribune paper here that explains about hypnosis. Well, actually, it told a story of truth because of what I'm fixing to lead into. And I'm trying to now add to your technique another army of ways to get sick people well. And it's this. Like D.D. did before September 18th, 1895, interference may occur by means other than a misaligned vertebra, producing pressure on nerves, irritating them and interfering with innate control of the body. What about the control of God to the innate? V.J. always said in all of his books, innate is 100%. Well, V.J. didn't believe that. And I made him admit that many times in Sarasota, Florida, because innate is interfered with. And the way innate is interfered with, we label as quality interferences. So whenever there is quality interferences, hypnosis, for an example, that it affects the body And it's either quality interference in the mind or quantity interference in the spine that prevents